Well, you would say you got to run the ball again to make the Rams use a timeout. Well, they can't because they know they can't run the ball, so they throw that incomplete pass to A.J. Brown. So now they stop the clock, and you're saying you can't throw an incomplete pass.
We got Mike Gill in the green room. Appreciate everybody being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, drop your comments down below. We appreciate everybody for being here. All super chats go to the top. Thank you very much. Let's go to Mike Gill, who joins us right here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him at 97.3 ESPN. Mike, welcome to the program, my friend. How you doing this morning?
Wish people would react to my social media posts as much as
same, Mike.
You got to be more, Mike. You got to be more cryptic. You got to be more cryptic.
Yeah. Well, you know, I heard the back end of what you were saying there. I feel like he is trolling because there's people that do what I do. I didn't bring it up at all. I just don't care. Like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, nor do I care what he's talking about. He said something a couple of weeks ago, and he had one of the best days of the season here 2 weeks later. Like, maybe they don't get along. Maybe they do get along. Maybe he thinks – but there are certain people who do what I do who are completely fueling this because he knows they're idiots. And he's like, these stupid idiots are going to keep talking about me, and I love it. So I'm just going to keep doing it because they'll center their whole day around it.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
just don't care.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of Embiid-like trolling, to give it a little shout-out to the Sixers.
Yeah, but even if it's Embiid-like trolling, isn't it a distraction from the team? I mean,
that
not if they're all in on it. Not if they're all in on it. Like, are they in on the joke too? Like, yo, put something out because this one moron will talk about it all day tomorrow, and like we'll just watch him have a meltdown. And it's like they're all just laughing at that guy. Like, I don't know what particular to say. Like, but
possible.
Listen, I'm 48 years old, so I'm not like the prime social media target here. But like at whatever age, AJ is what, 28? At 28 years old, we didn't have social media. It didn't exist. So you don't know what's going through. Like, what would you have done at that age? Like, we see all these people, you know, who now have lives or trying to get professional lives, and you go back to their social media feed. Well, when he was 20, he tweeted this. Well, yeah, that was 15 years ago. I was a complete idiot. So, but these guys have social media now is ingrained in the growth of their lives. Like, we didn't have that. So what would I have been tweeting at 28 years old? I have no idea, especially if I'm
You'd probably be embarrassed by some of it, at least some of it.
Likely.
We all would.
But like, he's 28 years old.
Well, the problem is now everybody has a platform now. And you can go directly to, there's no filter. So, you know, in the past, you would say something and, you know, somebody would have to write about it or somebody would have to report it and if it was big enough, this kind of stuff would have never reached that level. So, you know, how many times did insert Jerry Rice, say something back in the day that, hey, if they had social media, maybe even Jerry Rice would have a different.
Well, we talk about it all the time. Is like, you know, like Michael Jordan. What if he had to live with like social media? You know, these guys didn't have that platform to just kind of do whatever they wanted to do, whether they wanted to get their thoughts out or where they wanted to troll somebody or they wanted to just mess with people. Especially in a town where if you break wind, people are talking about it. Like, you can't do anything if you're on the Eagles without people just going bonkers about, ooh, why did he do it there? How come he didn't pick it to do it at this spot? How come he ended up going to this place? How come he didn't go to that place? Like, those guys can't do anything without it being broke down to like epic proportions. So the guy had his best game of the year. I don't know if he meant anything by what he said. Maybe he did. Maybe he don't. Maybe he hates Jalen Hurts. Maybe they're in on it together. Maybe they're laughing at everybody.
You know, the assumption that because they're not as close as they once were, that they're not going, that Jalen's not going to throw him the football, or or he's not going to catch it. Like a couple of weeks ago when the deep shot, they missed on the deep shot, and a lot of people were saying AJ didn't run the route as hard as he could have. That's the kind of stuff. Like, if he's open and Jalen sees him, he's going to throw the ball because Jalen doesn't want to look. He wants to make a play. He wants a perfect passer rating. He wants to score touchdowns, and so does AJ. So to me, the biggest fallacy of this whole thing is, they don't get along, so something's going to happen on the field. You don't want to embarrass yourself on an NFL football field. None of them do.
No, I think AJ, one of the things, remember, people kind of forget he was already in Tennessee. Like, I had somebody text in yesterday, like, hey, does AJ feel that he's a Hall of Fame level player, but his numbers are not going to get in there? And that, like, that's what he's thinking about. Because he's already said, like, winning the Super Bowl didn't fulfill him. And, whatever else is going on. Well, why would making the Hall of Fame fulfill him then? Like, you can't – it's the same level of achievement as a Super Bowl, right? Like,
I think it's personal.
It's a personal accomplishment.
Yeah, it's personal,
right? But my point is, he said he can't.
And by the way, I think legacy means a lot to him. Like,
okay. But my point was, he was in Tennessee, and in Tennessee, it wasn't like he had a Hall of Fame trajectory started there either. He didn't come here and have lesser numbers. He came from a place where he wasn't having great numbers either. Now, was he a problem there? Is that why they got rid of him? Necessarily, they thought he was injury prone. Like, they couldn't, he had the knee problems, and then they didn't think he could sign him. So that's why he ends up getting traded. But he didn't come here coming off of 3 1,500-yard seasons.
No, he had Derrick Henry. We've had that discussion many times.
Exactly.
I've had that discussion with AJ many
so
times.
Now, but my point is now, like, here we are, however many years in his career, has he changed? I don't want to say changed his mind, but all of a sudden has he become greedy where it's like, either throw me the ball or else, or I'm just going to keep mocking you on social media every single week? Like, you would have thought this would have been a pattern that he would have started in Tennessee for not getting the ball enough.
Well, he says
go ahead, Jim.
He said that helped him actually quell the natural desire of wide receivers that want the football, which they all do. He said, he's probably better equipped to handle it than most. And you see around the league, like, I mean, guys lose their minds if they're not getting the football. He actually handles it better than most. And part of that is because he's played with Derrick Henry and now Saquon Barkley, which a lot of receivers haven't gotten to. But look at Smith and Jigba. He's the new guy, right? He's having this phenomenal year. Everybody's talking about him. All the big numbers. That I think resonates with all receivers. And you need the vehicle. You need a high volume thrower to get you the football to put up those numbers. I think from AJ's standpoint, he's made 3 consecutive second-team All-Pro teams. When he first got here, it was Miles. They were a very effective running team, but he was at 1,500 yards. Second year, it was DeAndre, very effective running team, but he was up wherever, 1,400 yards. I think that's the wheelhouse where he's fine. And they've dropped off from that wheelhouse for whatever it's worth.
I listen, he has been here for fourth season now. And we've had moments of this before. It's not like this has just come out of right field. He has had moments, and they seemingly, I don't know, they just kind of go away, and this team has had a ton of success. Now, do you get to the point where he's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and you just get rid of him?
Yeah, that's what I mean. People act like this Eagles organization doesn't care about this stuff. They do care about it. I know people, what EJ talk? The organization cares. They've proven that they care about any outside noise. So we'll see what ends up happening. But, Mike, let's move into the football. Is the Eagles' offense fixed after what you saw on Sunday versus the Vikings?
No, not fixed, but this is what they are. This is what they've been. I mean, last year I don't want to say last year they were broken, but they just handed the ball off and it worked. I mean, they had moments last year where we were questioning the offense, and I would have loved Jalen to come out the other day and say, "Was this what y'all wanted to see?" Like, that just been apropos. But there was moments last year where there was problems, but they did one thing very, very well. Didn't mean they didn't have their issues. No, they got somebody texted into my show yesterday and on Monday and said, look, an offense isn't just chucking the ball down the field. That's not an offense. And
it's not going to work.
Right. Like you can't just do that every single week, point your finger and just say backyard football, let's go. But if they can like come to terms with using the pass to set up the run, they've been trying to go the other way and that's not working. So they just said, okay, let's scrap that and try to throw the ball. Can they now be a throw first team to try to set their run back up and then use Barkley kind of in the way that he sealed games last year, where he just hit one big one and that kind of ended the game? Because they're trying to utilize him early, and he just has nowhere to go. And then they're just like, all right, let's throw the ball. But if they come out throwing the ball, and then that opens up that box a little bit more. Their problem is, of course, up front. You know, you put Brett Toth at center, he's getting whipped in the middle of that line. There's just nowhere to run. There's no lanes, nothing. Landon Dickerson hasn't been the same. Quite frankly, the whole offensive line, we talk about it a lot. They're just not the same right now as the five guys that you had last year, churning and burning holes. They don't have that right now. So, no, the offense is going to be a problem if they're going to try to lean on Saquon Barkley. And, you know, they have no run game right now. None. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
The game,
it's amazing.
The microcosm of the issues is last week they have the ball and they're trying to end the game. They have to run the ball. They run the ball. They get a yard. The Rams call timeout. Well, you would say you got to run the ball again to make the Rams use a timeout. Well, they can't because they know they can't run the ball, so they throw that incomplete pass to A.J. Brown. So now they stop the clock, and you're saying you can't throw an incomplete pass. They have to. They can't run the ball, and then they end up hitting the big 45-yard pass to A.J. Brown. But you're probably all watching the game saying, like, they can't run the ball, but they have to run the ball, but they can't. And last year – you knew they were going to run the ball, and he probably would have daggered you with a 73-yard run right there, and they just can't do it. So not fixed. But learning every week more and more as the play caller, like you feel more comfortable as that guy. Okay, now I got a better feel. Maybe we could do a little bit more of this. You hope anyway. I don't know. I'm not inside Kevin Patullo's head.
Yeah, I'm amazed with that kind of conversation. Like, number one, why would anything be fixed in week 7? You know, I mean, the whole goal is to get better and better, and have your, like they did last year, play your best football when it counts. So I don't think it's alarming, but I do think there's this weird. We talk about it. We've talked about it all the time over the years, Mike. This weird. This is a different sport. It's unlike, because you play so few games and you have so much time in between the games, and everybody is so hyper focused on what went on the last game, and it's like that's what the team is. Even though every week you see it's different.
Well, the team is what the team for 1 week is what the other team allows you to be or doesn't allow you to be.
Exactly. But so a lot of it is how Minnesota played, and it was strange. It was a strange defensive game plan from Brian Flores. And maybe that shouldn't be a surprise because he's a weird guy and he does different things. But he was allowing, Isaiah Rodgers to be in man coverage way too much.
I said on my show on Friday, if you see A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, either one of them, one-on-one with because the whole week was like, oh, Isaiah Rodgers should have brought him back. If you see either one of those guys one-on-one with Isaiah Rodgers, you go right after him. Like they're acting like this guy was Darrelle Revis in his prime, for God's sakes. And I'm like,
it was the strangest thing. And I'm like,
Zander, you asked if they're fixed. And my answer would be not necessarily. I don't know what the heck they are. But Devontae Smith has the 5th most receiving yards in the league.
I know.
Think about that. He has the 5th most receiving yards in the league. I think one thing is a lot of people watch the Eagles. They don't watch like everything else. And then we see these primetime games. And you see Jamar Chase get 23, targets, and Jackson Smith and Jigba the other night had a bunch of targets. But overall, teams are struggling to pass the ball. Like they're having some problems. Like you're seeing big games here and there from time to time, like the Eagles. They had 2 guys go over 100 yards in the same game, yet you would think overall they're having problems with the wide receivers and getting them the ball and yada, yada. But Devontae Smith has the 5th most yards in the league right now. So I think it's just like each week, based on who you're playing and what their game plan is and what they're willing to give you and what they're not willing to give you. And teams right now are not willing to give the Eagles Saquon Barkley. That's for sure. So, and look, they signed Saquon Barkley. They gave him that extension. I wasn't all for that extension. I get it. It was a good job by the organization to approach him. But you got his best year. So you're now paying him for the best year. That's kudos to the organization for doing that. But now you pay him this money, and it's almost like, okay, he's our guy. Now you're saying he's the guy that we're investing in. And you're trying to use this investment, and it's not working right now. So now you have the 5th best yardage receiver in the league. Maybe he gets some more targets. Or you have another guy on the other side who's pretty darn good. He's a cryptic writer. Maybe we want to get him involved a little bit more.
How about, I'm sick of talking about the offense. So it's BG day.
Oh man, the best kept secret that I've ever seen, right?
Yeah. Who knew it was coming?
Well, I thought the revelation that he gave on his show yesterday was that they did ask him at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Well, they've been talking. They've been talking since before they brought in Zadarius. Then it kind of slowed down, picked up.
That's what he said. He said they called him before, and he said no. Then they went to Smith, and then when Smith retired, that opened the door, and he said, "I'm not going to let this opportunity go." But they did acknowledge, I guess, the team that we think we need, because everyone's saying, "How did you go in with this group of guys?" They tried to get Brandon, and he didn't want to play. Now they got Smith, and I don't know. Would we think that Smith is a better fit, not fit, but just a better overall player than what Brandon may be when he comes back?
Not a better overall player, but a better pass rusher.
Right, because I said even Brandon Graham in his prime wasn't like, if you think he's going to come out here and get 8 sacks, like that's not like that's not what Brandon Graham.
One season of double-digit sacks, I think, in his career.
Yeah.
And that happened to be like 3 years ago when he had 11. But yeah, he was never like a sack artist. Like he's not a guy who's going to help the pass rush, I wouldn't think.
And that's what they need help with.
Yes, exactly.
I think he's going to get pressure. He might not get a lot of sacks, but I mean, he is good in pressures. I mean, obviously, he's famous for one of the most important pressures in the history of the franchise.
Absolutely.
But no, I don't know. I think he's going to help. But last year, Mike, you think he had 21 pressures, 4 sacks, 320 snaps. Like he wasn't playing. He wasn't the kind of guy that retired and you were like, yeah, hang him up, BJ. You know what I mean? Like he was.
I agree.
He still had some left.
I'm just wondering, like, I guess my question is getting Brandon Graham and hoping that he's Brandon Graham or any semblance of him enough, or they still need to look? Or do they think, hey, we got Brandon, we're going to get Nolan back, and that will be fine?
What does this say about Nolan Smith to anybody? Anything?
I think it's more about the other guys, to be honest with you. But it might be something about Nolan.
Because I mean, I think we all count Nolan Smith as some proven commodity. And I think I was on all summer long telling you guys, like, hey, we're just assuming that all these guys are what we saw in the run last year. Like, I don't know. And so far, Quinyon Mitchell has been better or the same. I asked, are these guys going to be better or the same? And I think Quinyon has been. I guess you could make an argument that Cooper's been better or the same. Same with Bond. Is Bond as effective this year as he was last year? Maybe in the same realm. I mean, he hasn't taken a huge drop off. No, he's been great, but not,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But not everybody, though.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Like Nolan Smith, obviously getting hurt, it's hard to evaluate him, but he wasn't what he was in that playoff run through the first couple games that he played. Jalen Hunt certainly isn't what you saw in the playoff run and late in the year. Because Jalen came in once Brandon got hurt, and you were like, oh, my God, this is going to be a disaster. And then he came in and did a really eye-opening job. And he hasn't been the same. Jalen Carter, I think, had his best game of the season this past week. I thought that hit on
Oh my God,
really,
it was the play of the game. It was.
all right. I
I've been
thought that
talking
really
about
changed the game. Yeah,
Carson was not the same after that hit.
he got ripped in that shot. But Jalen Carter has not been better or the same. He's been a little down from where he's
Oh
was.
yeah,
Now
he hasn't
maybe
played.
he's taking the jump. So yeah, Nolan Smith, I had questions, and I think a lot of it is what we're seeing. His size is it's going to be hard for him to be a consistent 17-week player at that size. So when he plays, he might flash, but how much can he be on the field?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is November 4th is coming. I don't think this precludes Howie Roseman from trying to get something else as well. And if you get something meaningful, and I'm not talking about Trey Hendrickson, but I'm talking about, say, Bradley Chubb. And I use him because he has a long history with Vic Fangio. If they get somebody like Bradley Chubb, does that fix the issues? Does everything fall into place? Nolan's the other starter when he comes back, and he can take less reps at least. You kick Brandon down, you kick Jalix down. Does that fix the issues?
I don't know if it doesn't fix it, but it certainly makes you better. The question I would have is on that, like, Vic, does he want to play Jalix less? Like, is he at the point where he's like, we need to get someone to get him off the field? We're playing him too much. Like, who does he think he's playing too much?
I think everybody.
So then,
no, seriously, because
that's the question for Vic. I mean, he just talked yesterday, but hey, Vic, because he'll probably say, is there a guy you think is playing too much on your defense right now?
Well, he wouldn't answer that specifically. He would say he already has. He's gone to his past, and he's often used 3 edge rushers because he's had to. But and he had to at the end of last year because of injuries as well. But I think especially with the group he has, you just talked about Nolan's lack of size. That's a thing. And when he's out there and playing as physical as he does, do you want him out there for 65 snaps?
Well, yeah. Well, last year in the playoff run, how much was he playing?
He's playing quite a bit, but that was, again, injury related. People forget that not only Brandon was out, but also Bryce Huff, which, by the way, he's playing pretty well in San Francisco, but that's one of the few. I think Vic Fangio.
You knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. He got hurt, though. He's hurt. They got a lot of injuries.
I had somebody text in yesterday. They made a mistake letting Huff go. And
no, they didn't, because they weren't going to use him like Robert Saleh uses him. So, right. I mean,
but that is one of those things where it's like, hey, you signed this guy, you gave him real money, but you didn't use him correctly. Like, was that you being stubborn that you didn't want to acquiesce to his skill set, or are you saying?
I think it was them being stubborn. I think
because he clearly does have some skill set, even if it doesn't work in Vic. So it's proven that he has a skill set.
Yeah. Well, I think the goal was
a skill set that the Eagles need.
I think the goal with Bryce was, we know you have this skill set, but we want you to become a more well-rounded player. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I don't think that's a bad sentiment. I think that's what you should be doing for players.
Well, and the thing is, though, he was a situational pass rusher with the Jets. I mean, did you think you were going to bring him in here and all of a sudden he was going to turn into Reggie White? I mean,
well, no, but I think the hope was that he could be a 3-down player. And my argument is, when you figured out he couldn't be a 3-down player, take advantage of what he can do. Right. That's where I think the Eagles went off the rails. But then he got hurt as well. The injury played into it because it was a pretty significant injury.
I agree.
So anyway, to the point about Nolan playing a lot of snaps, and your point of, yeah, he had to do it late last season, but it's a very short run as opposed to 17 games and the playoffs. So I don't think you want him playing as many snaps as he played down the stretch. I think Vic doesn't want to, in a best case world, And that's why I think the goal is to get somebody else as well, so everybody can kind of settle into their proper role from a playing time standpoint. I think they still want to add something, is my point. Doesn't
Yeah,
mean they
well, if
can.
they had to add one thing, is it edge or corner?
I mean, I think edge remains the bigger problem because how many teams in this league have two really good corners? Now, and Vic will say different positions, but we're for
No.
the sake of
What was
argument.
your read on his yesterday? He was asked about Jacorian Bennett. Is he the guy they want to get to?
Well, I think when they traded him, I think as you saw by Vic's assessment, I don't think he's thrilled with the early returns of the player.
Yeah.
So we could have a Bryce Huff situation.
He's been hurt, which has been his problem with the Raiders.
Yeah. And he basically said that he hasn't seen him enough, so he doesn't know what he is. But, you know.
I guess my point is they've already traded for him. They would trade for an edge ahead of trading for another corner because they feel like if they can get him healthy, he would be the guy. Yeah.
I think so. Well, I don't think they think he's going to be the guy. I think they could persevere with the group of three. That somebody at some point will give them enough, and between Adoree, Kaylee, and Jacorian, one of the three. But that's what I said. Looking at the rest of the league, like who has two corners like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean? Howie Roseman said this, and I agree with him. He said, I look at that position as a strength because of those two guys, period.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
And if you had better pass rush, the second guy isn't as exposed.
Yeah. But last year was, you had them and Slay. So you had sort of an embarrassment and Rodgers, who was, got embarrassed by AJ. But if you use Rodgers correctly, he's a good player. Just not a great player. So yeah, they were much better last year, but I still think that position is a strength because of the presence of Quinyon and Cooper. And what I've advocated, Vic's not listening, but what I've advocated is embrace Cooper's versatility. If you got a good outside receiver and a poor slot receiver, play him outside more.
Yeah.
If you got the CD Lamb week, he's got to play in the slot more, play him in the slot more. Use him where he's most needed because he can handle it. That's what I think they should do. And then you have that third corner, whoever it is, Keeley outside, Adoree outside, Mac McWilliams inside, Perry Nickerson inside, whoever it is. They'll have an easier time.
Point, I'm surprised that they haven't given Mac a shot. I liked him coming out of the draft, but maybe, they just want to get him more polished. But I would imagine in the second half after the bye, someone like him gets a shot. If they're still in the same situation.
Yeah, maybe.
I think after that bye, you might see some tweaks and some stuff like that. Instead of just throwing these guys, you got this giant game here, and then they can assess like where they are after 8 games, and then kind of just,
You don't think we're going to lose again to the Giants, do you?
I would think it would be shocking to lose to that team, not only on your home field, but twice in the same year. I'll tell you what, at the beginning of this year, I would say playing the Giants would be a pain in the ass because of their defense. It's not their defense that's the pain in the ass. Their defense, for whatever reason, has been a problem for them. They gave up 30 points in the fourth quarter the other day, for God's sake. I was picking my girlfriend up at the airport. I drove from Deptford, Gloucester outlets to the Philadelphia
Those are nice,
airport.
By the way, Mike. Those are nice.
Yes, I drove from the Gloucester outlets to the Philadelphia airport and watched that lead evaporate on that drive. It only took me 20 minutes to see that lead evaporate. Their defense has been a huge problem for them. Who would have thought? You were like, okay, this defense is going to, they added defense. And you're like, man, if you play the Giants, it's going to be a pain to play them because their defense is going to get after you. They just are not anywhere close to what I thought they'd be defensively. And then you lose Neighbors, and you're thinking, oh, the poor quarterback. I mean, like, he's got no one to throw to. Well, he's throwing to some no-neighbors, and then he's running around, and then you got Scatterboo. But if they lost to them at home after losing to them, like, again, losing to the Giants this year where you are and where they are, it's unacceptable. But it's a short week. It's on the road. It's in the division. It's the way you lost to them that is unacceptable. The spot you can understand, okay, it's a Thursday night on the road in the division. But they kicked your ass. I mean, they beat you up and down that field. That was the alarming part. This time around, you would think if they come here that it's just they would be overwhelmed. But look, they had that Denver team beat. And that's a good Denver team. Really, the kicker makes 2 extra points. They beat that Denver team. So I don't think you can take them lightly.
They cut that kicker, by the way.
Yes, he got cut. And they brought in Koo, right?
Yeah,
from Atlanta.
Yeah, the Falcons, yeah.
So you cannot overlook them at all with the way that they're. And by the way, they literally physically beat you up. But yes, I would be pretty surprised if they swept you and beat you on your home field.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And that game last week, they were on the road and were up at Denver. Like, that's not an easy place to play when Denver stinks.
You're right. That was a bad loss. And you saw Brian Burns' reaction after that loss. I mean, he was incensed at the way they played defense down the stretch. So,
are you surprised at how bad their defense has been?
Well, I mean, parts of it. The front is as advertised. I mean, Burns is having a tremendous year.
Yeah,
Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is still Dexter Lawrence. Thibodeau can do some things. Abdul Carter's having a nice rookie season. I think those guys have lived up to the hype, but everything else is not. The corners are pretty bad. Outside of Cordell Blott getting a pick 6 against the Eagles. I thought Banks was going to be a good player. He's not even starting. He has not developed well at all. The safeties are just kind of okay. The linebackers, Okeraki's been a good player. I don't think he's having a good season. So I think the front is as advertised, but everything else is kind of shaky. And then I think the coordinator had a bad plan when they had a big lead. It's not the first time we've seen that.
Not the first
You play
time.
the game. You play the game a certain way. You get a big lead, and then you play a different way. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Brian Burns.
He's not the first, and he won't be the last.
No. And I think Brian Burns was upset by it. He was. Everybody saw it. He was really upset by the way they played at the end of that game. So we'll see. They have some issues as well off the field. We'll see how that works for them. No issues with Mike Gill. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow him on the X platform. Subscribe to his YouTube channel, 97.3 South Jersey. The Sports Bash, if you're local, listen every day to the 6th there. You mentioned tweaks on defense coming back from the bye. Well, Vic already made a tweak, and this one surprised me. And he said yesterday, well, the plan was, I thought Jihad Campbell played more on the edge because Azeez Ojulari played 4 snaps and got hurt. And I thought that was the reason Jihad played a lot more on the edge. Vic said, no, that was the plan. He wanted to play Nakobe Dean in base and Jihad and nickel.
By the way, I thought Dean was effective and was all over the place.
He was. And that's my question. Because Jihad Campbell has played well as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. By the way, he is the betting favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he very much, maybe not. Well, he's not going to play as much. Do you think that's the case moving forward? Because Vic Fangio loves Nakobe Dean, and that was his first little splash, and he played well. That's a difficult decision for me because I love Nakobe as well, but Jihad's playing, so I can't take Jihad Campbell off the field.
No,
what do you
he
do?
Did not give him. It wasn't like he gave him a glowing assessment of how he, played in the game as an edge rusher. He said, I thought he performed basically like I thought he would. It wasn't like, yeah, man, he's really changed the game for us. We could use him. So I'm interested to see, like, are they going to use him exclusively now as this edge guy, which I don't know that he made a huge impact in that role. It wasn't like, people like when Micah Parsons was a rookie, he was playing linebacker, and the Cowboys just had so many guys get hurt that they just had to move him to an edge spot, and he just disrupted the game to epic proportions. You see 30 coming from the end, and he's getting swallowed up for the most part, from what I saw, is, he made very little impact in the pass rush. So,
I don't think he's ready. I agree with you. I don't think he's ready to play on the edge. It's not going to be, to your point, a Micah Parsons situation. So that to me makes the conversation more difficult because he has been impactful off the ball. And, Big says he wants to get Nakobe in there. I love Nakobe too, but if I have to make that decision, I'm playing Jihad Campbell. Who's Mike Gill playing?
That's a tough one. I thought Dean played very well on Sunday, but Campbell has been very good in the sample size that he has. I think what I would do is try to see if I can unlock Jihad Campbell in this role because I need it so much. That's what I think I would try to do in this little stretch here. I'll tell you what.
Deep end of the pool is what I said. Just throw him in, see if he can do it.
Absolutely. Like, you have a stretch coming up. You play the Giants, then a bye. That stretch out of the bye is brutal.
Yeah.
So you've got a stretch coming out of that bye where you're playing Green Bay, Detroit. You got Chicago, who I know people are like, but the Bears are 4-2. They've won 4 in a row. Their offense is starting to come together. I think Ben Johnson's got something going with this offense now. Their defense was good last year. Now their defense is pretty solid. So that Bears team is they're not a Super Bowl contending team quite yet, but that's going to be a short week. It's a Black Friday game. There's one other team in there that's kind of like, you're like, they got Dallas. You got to play Dallas with that offense.
In Dallas.
Right, at Dallas with their with that offense. So you're going to have to get this defense getting more pressure. So I think I would try to get Campbell unlocked in that role and play Dean in that spot. I don't think you should just bench Dean and not play him and have him standing on the sideline. So if I can utilize both of those guys, I'm going to see if I could try to unlock Campbell in that pass rushing role.
Yeah, we'll see what they end up doing. Mike, thanks for joining in today, brother. We appreciate you doing it. As always, it's one of our most popular segments every Wednesday, so we do appreciate it. Mike, thank you, brother. We appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
All right, see ya.
Thanks, bud.